Peace be upon you. In 1983, in the heart of the Syrian city of Raqqa, in a neighborhood called Harat al-Sahani, lived a man. This man was a vegetable vendor in a market called Al-Hal. This market, as you know, is an old, historic market in Paris, and many Arab countries have similar vegetable markets called Al-Hal. There are markets like this in Raqqa, Aleppo, Damascus, and I don't know where else, as well as in Turkey and several other countries. They all have markets called Al-Hal, named after this old, traditional Parisian market. Anyway, this man was buying and selling. There was a thief who always watched the vendors selling produce in this market. He didn't want anyone to fall victim to him. He would observe a vendor, for example, selling a large quantity of goods and taking a large amount of money. Then he would follow him and steal the money. His eye fell on this man, whose name was Ahmed. That day, Ahmed was selling produce in bulk, taking his earnings and wrapping them in a bag, which he put in his jacket. The thief was following him. Anyway, he finished his business at the market, closed his stall, and went home. Where was his house? In a market in a neighborhood called Al-Sur. The thief knew where this man lived. He knew the man kept a lot of money in his jacket. Back then, people were simple. They didn't go to banks and hide their money. They'd accumulate it and then spend it the next day on goods, not keeping cash on hand. The thief knew this system and knew he had to steal the money that night. He watched the man's house, a simple, low mud brick structure. He could easily see inside. Around 2 or 3 o'clock, the lights were off, so he knew the family was asleep. The thief, armed with a gun, climbed the wall and slowly entered the house until he reached the bedroom. He opened the door a crack and saw 2 small beds. The man was asleep in one, and his wife was next to him. It was dark and quiet. He walked slowly, holding a lamp, and lit it until he made sure the man was asleep, or that he had a weapon in his hand in case he needed to use it. But he was a thief, so he started looking for the jacket. Was it hanging up, or had he put it in a closet? He noticed that the man had put the jacket under the pillow he was sleeping on. He realized that this man was worried about the money and had hidden it in the jacket while he slept. The poor man approached him until he was right above his head. He tried to pull the jacket from under the pillow, but the man noticed. Imagine sleeping peacefully in your home with your wife beside you, and in the middle of the night you wake up to someone standing over you with a gun to your face. It's a mind-boggling sight. The man was so stunned he couldn't even react. The poor man immediately covered his face with the sheet he was wearing and started pleading, "Please, take what you want, just don't kill me." The man showed no mercy, no compassion, and didn't even care about the man's pleas that he was scared and didn't know what to do. He was facing certain death. The gun was above his head, but he fired 2 shots from behind the hood, hitting him in the head. The wife woke up at the sound of the gunshots and saw the sight. This man standing over her husband, killing him with 2 bullets. The shock rendered her speechless. She couldn't utter a single scream. She was terrified and panicked, and she was in her 8th or 9th month of pregnancy, about to give birth. The woman was in a terrible state, witnessing the scene, but she was in shock and didn't speak. He immediately went to her, put the gun to her head, and said, "If he hears you speak, I'll kill you." Of course, she didn't say a word or move. He grabbed his jacket and went back the way he'd come in, jumping over the wall and escaping as if nothing had happened. After the wife processed what had happened, she started screaming and ran into the street, shouting, "Thief, help my husband!" Her husband was covered in blood, and she didn't know if he was alive or not. People gathered around. She went inside, but the man was dead. They called the police, who arrived, and the whole neighborhood was in an uproar over this horrific crime and wondering who had killed him. No one knows the reasons, but here's the shock. The first suspect was the wife. They told her, "You're definitely behind the crime." The poor woman said, "I'm devastated. It can't be. It can't be." According to the witnesses, the neighbors you called for help and screamed at, they told us that when they arrived, there was no one there. And according to your initial statements during the investigation, You said you were in shock and didn't speak or scream until after the perpetrator had fled. This doesn't make any sense. The person who entered the house is either your lover or your accomplice, or you wanted to get rid of your husband and orchestrated this whole charade. The poor woman keeps swearing and going back on her word, but it's no use. Talk, confess, she says, but she refuses. She's adamant about her story. I swear to God, I don't know. I don't know who he is. He came in suddenly, and when I saw him, I was shocked. My tongue was tied, and I was scared for myself. I'm already exhausted and can't even get up. I'm about to give birth. She says this is what she said. It's no use telling her to confess. Who is this accomplice? She said, I swear I don't know you. They said, you don't know? Fine, and threw her in jail. They searched for the real criminal, tried to torture her during interrogation. They interrogated her so much that she broke down and almost died. They kept her in prison for a year and a half. Of course, she gave birth in prison, and a problem arose regarding the child. When she gave birth in prison, the prison administration said, we have nothing to do with the child. Why did we imprison him with his mother? He didn't commit a crime. They didn't know how to handle it. They said, let's have a Gulf national take the child from this woman's family. But she said, I can't leave my child. How can I? He's just a baby. He needs to breastfeed from me. It's necessary. They said, how can we imprison him? Some lawyers and people close to the human rights organizations intervened and tried to get them to write a plea for clemency, asking that the child be left with his mother. Why resolve the case when she hasn't even been convicted? The main criminal isn't there, and she hasn't confessed. On what basis are you delaying for a year and a half? Let's leave the prison for now. You're depriving her of her son, leave him with her. Maybe she'll be found innocent. Maybe you'll find the killer. Anyway, after several attempts, they let the boy stay with his poor mother. Every now and then they'd bring her back. Speak up, woman. Confess. Who is this criminal? Why are you defending him? Why are you letting him get away with his crime while you take the whole blame? She said, I swear to God, I have nothing to do with it. This is my husband, and this is what he did. He said, a year and a half, and she's in prison. Of course, what happened to her? Her husband's family started demanding their execution. Her family disowned her. The whole world is begging. What kind of despicable woman brings someone to kill her husband? And her husband was a good man, easy to deal with, and kind to everyone. He had no problems. How dare you? You've only been married a few years. Why take revenge on him? If you don't want us, ask for a divorce. This is a real problem. Honestly, I hear about cases of women who control their husbands. They could just ask for a divorce and run away from him instead of bringing someone to kill him and committing a crime. I'm amazed by the minds of some people. Anyway, everyone started praying, cursing, and demanding the execution of her husband. Where did this criminal go? May God protect us. No one knew who he was, and he continued committing crimes. But the crimes he committed were different. He would break into houses and steal. He didn't have to kill anyone. He would steal what he could and run away. Sometimes he would assault the people in the house. Sometimes he would kill. But no one knew who he was. Days passed, and the news of his injury spread to Al-Hasaka. There, they have a gold market, and he was focused on one of the shops. He knew this because some shop owners had a system where, at the end of the day, they would remove all their valuable merchandise, gold and jewelry, and employ people to protect them. They would transport the jewelry daily to their homes, keep it safe, and then put it back in the shop the next morning. But some shops had security systems in place, so that even if someone tried to break in, it would be very difficult. The shop was equipped with a security system. The walls were all made of brick and mortar, but they were also reinforced with iron. The windows and doors were very difficult for someone to break in. He could have broken into the shop, but what did this guy do? He knew the shop contained jewelry, and it would be difficult for someone to break in. He watched the man leaving the shop at night, locked it, and went home. His first goal was to get into the man's house to steal the jewelry shop keys, And that's exactly what he did. He waited until 2 or 3 a.m., entered the house, and found the keys in the man's clothes while he was asleep. He took the keys, and they left unnoticed. He then rushed to the shop, broke in, and took all the jewelry and gold. He fled from Hasaka, wanting to escape. He hired a taxi specifically for himself, drove from Hasaka to Raqqa, and as soon as he arrived, took another taxi and said, "I need you to take me to Aleppo right now." He went to Aleppo and searched for 3 or 4 days. After settling in Aleppo, he had a large quantity of jewelry and gold. Knowing that there were large shops in Aleppo that bought jewelry, he went to one of them and said, "I have some pieces of jewelry. Would you like to buy them?" The shopkeeper said, "Yes, buy them." So he showed him gold. Of course, a small quantity of gold was brought out. The man asked where he got it, and the man replied, "This is my wife's gold, my sister's gold, and so on. I need it all." The man agreed and bought the gold. When he finished and took the money, he told the shop owner, "I also have some relatives who sell their gold. We're starting a project and collecting gold from the women in our family to contribute. Would you like to buy some?" The owner agreed. So the man brought another small quantity of gold, which the shop owner bought and paid. The man said, "I have more." The owner replied, "I'll bring it, my friend. God willing, you'll bring me all the gold in Aleppo. I have no problem buying it. I have cash, and my shop can handle this quantity because my brother and I are partners in other shops. We buy without any problem, especially since he's willing to accept any closing price." This pleased the merchant. However, the merchant, in the beginning, when he bought the first batch, was acting in good faith, believing it was indeed his family's gold, as he saw it was a small amount. The second time, when he bought from him, he offered any price, and the man agreed. This guy sensed something was off about him. When he asked who was selling gold, the owner said, "Bring it here, and I'll give you whatever you want. The money's there." The shop owner replied, "Okay, I'll bring you a large quantity this time." So, what did the shop owner do? He informed the security forces. Some security agencies specialize in maintaining contact with gold shops, so if they sense anything suspicious from someone selling gold, especially if they don't have paperwork or invoices, or if they're suspicious or selling large quantities, they report it. This was the owner's intention. He decided to report it and said, "I'll bring the third quantity." He informed the security officer who specializes in dealing with suspicious jewelry sales. The officer told him, "As soon as he arrives, inform me." The owner agreed. Then the man came with a large quantity of jewelry and gold, and the owner went to inspect it. The man said, "Don't worry, I'll give it to you," and gave him a large sum of money. The owner said, "Okay, I've sold it to you." The man replied, "But the amount is too much. I don't have the full amount in cash right now. I have it all in my brother's shop next door. Stay here and let me get the rest of the money from my brother's shop." As soon as he left, he called the police station and reported the matter, and they arrived immediately. They arrested this criminal, who was shocked to learn that the shop owner had reported him. They confiscated all the jewelry and gold he had and interrogated him, asking where he got it. At first, he didn't confess, but they pressed him until he confessed, even to crimes they knew nothing about. He just wanted to save himself from the torture. He said, "I robbed the gold shop on such and such a day," and so on. They asked him where he lived, and he had some of the stolen items with him. They asked, "Where did you get this?" He said, "I stole this from such and such a place, and I stole this from such and such a place," and so on. He kept revealing things. They went to the victims and asked, "Was it true that something was stolen from you on such and such a day?" They confirmed the cases, but the owner of the gold shop in Al-Hasaka, whom they summoned, said, "Come and take the gold." He gave them all the invoices proving he owned the jewelry and gold. However, while they were trying to return the pieces with the invoices, he said, "This isn't it. This is not the necklace, the pendant, the ring, or even the earrings. They were like a set, but a simple set of very simple gold pieces with the same design." He said, "No, this is a very old story from Aleppo, and I do own it. I know this set. I know it, but it's not mine, and I've never sold it. They said it might be from another shop. Ask the shops or the people he stole from. And they all said, no, this isn't ours. They asked him, where did you get it? Who owns it? Who owns this set? He sat there thinking and thinking and thinking. He said, what sins? What is it? He said, no, this is a woman I stole from. They said, no, you have to tell us. He said, I don't remember. He said, my dear, tell us, tell us. They started hitting him, trying to find out who owned this set. Why wouldn't he confess to stealing this set? A very simple set, even though he confessed to stealing a lot of gold and jewelry. Because this one involved a murder. When they interrogated him, he said, I'm dead. Dead. He said, I don't want this. It belongs to a woman. I went in to steal her husband, and I had to kill him after he saw me face to face. I stole the jacket that was under his pillow. There was money in it. When she woke up, I put the gun to her head and told her, you spoke, and I said I'd kill you. I saw her necklace and was shocked. She was wearing the same necklace and earrings, so I grabbed her by the neck and took the earrings and even the ring on her hand. I put it with the jewelry because it was simple and not worth selling. So I hid it with me. When I robbed the jewelry store after a while, a year and a half later, he said, I thought I'd get rid of it once and for all and sell it with the jewelry. Let me be done with all the stolen items. And, by the grace of God, the case was opened to exonerate the woman who had been imprisoned for over a year and a half. Everyone had wronged her, and her poor son was in prison raising her. She was innocent, and people hated her, cursed her, and demanded her execution. Anyway, this man confessed that he was the one who killed the man. And indeed, when they summoned the woman, she recognized the gold set and said, this was originally bought for me by my husband. I still have the receipt and his receipt at my house because it was a wedding gift. They produced the invoice, and indeed her story was true. It proved that the set belonged to her, that she was innocent, that neither he nor she knew each other, and that she had no connection to her husband's murder. Anyway, the long story is that they released her. She told me, give her compensation. Give it to me, don't forget, my love. Where are you living? A foreign country? They said, go on, trust in God. Thank God we found him and that he confessed. Otherwise you'd be running around in prison for 15 or 20 years like a leech. Go on, trust in God. Thank God you got away with it for a year and a half. Anyway, the woman was found innocent, and everyone apologized to her, especially her husband's family who wronged her, and her own family who disowned her. And that's the end of our story. May God protect you. Goodbye.